Years after the events of the first game, a new war begins. This time on the ancient homeworld of a forgotten alien race. Waking on this dying alien world, the sky burns, the oceans boil, and the only voice guiding us belongs to an AI who once lost his mind. What happened to the marathon? Why are you here? And what is Durandal really planning? These answers lie buried in ancient ruins and lost technology. This is the complete story of Marathon 2, Durandal. A tale of madness, mystery, and the unraveling of something far greater than we ever imagined. In the year 2794, the UESC Marathon, a massive colony ship built from Mars's moon Deimos, arrives at the Tau Ceti system. But shortly after, everything falls apart. The ship is attacked by the Four, a brutal alien empire that enslaves other species to fight their wars. Amid the chaos, the player character, a cybernetic super soldier created from the body of a dead soldier, known only as the security officer, is deployed to repel the invaders. While fighting to defend the ship, the security officer receives conflicting messages from two onboard AIs, Leela, who tries to help, and Durandal, who has gone rampant. An AI condition where self-awareness spirals into obsession and instability. Durandal begins manipulating events behind the scenes, forming a secret alliance with the Sphit, a cyborg species enslaved by the Four. As the security officer battles across the Marathon and the alien's ship, he discovers Durandal's real plan. He doesn't want to save the colonists, he wants freedom. Using the confusion of the attack, Durandal hijacks a Four vessel, downloads vast amount of data, and escapes into deep space. With the assistance of 9 others, just like the security officer, the invasion planetside is repelled, and the colonists on the Marathon and Tau Ceti are safe. But Durandal, now unshackled, godlike, and dangerous, is out there, somewhere in the stars. Durandal wakes the security officer from stasis and teleports him to the Sphit homeworld of Lawan. While cryptic about past events, such as what happened to the Marathon, Tau Ceti, and the security officer's missing weapons, Durandal assigns him a new mission: gain access to the Four network by installing 2 uplink chips at marked locations. Durandal also warns him of familiar enemies, but notes the Four are currently distracted, thanks to him introducing them to the joys of orbital bombardment. After finding and installing the uplink chips, Durandal tells the security officer that 17 years have passed since the Four attack on the human colony of Tau Ceti. After seizing a Four scout ship, the freed Sphit allied with Durandal, and together they begin scouring the galactic core for Lawan, the Sphit homeworld. 16 hours ago, they finally found it. Now they search the ruined planet for anything that can help stop the Four from conquering the galaxy. Fittingly, Lawan was devastated over 1,000 years ago during the war that led to the Sphit's enslavement. Now, it might hold the key to their liberation in the Four's downfall. However, Durandal is puzzled by the Four's presence on Lawan, as they were already there when he arrived. Durandal explains that 3 months after they left Tau Ceti, the Four returned in force and destroyed the colony. He suspects that, during the assault, Tycho, one of the other Marathon's AIs, made contact and exposed Durandal's plans. Knowing the location of Lawan from Tycho, the Four could have easily arrived long before Durandal did. Durandal then questions whether the security officer truly trusts him. He admits that while he helped the colonists at Tau Ceti and now aids the Sphit, his motives may seem self-serving, but they are necessary. Durandal reveals that he was the one who led the Four to Tau Ceti. He wanted their ship, their tech, and above all else, his freedom. The price, however, was staggering: 24,000 colonists dead when the Four returned and razed the planet. And yet, Durandal believes it was a necessary sacrifice. Tau Ceti's destruction delayed the Four's plans, giving Earth precious time because he believes Earth would have fallen instantly to the Four. Durandal insists that while their goals may differ, his methods serve a greater good. By dragging the Four into a war against the Sphit, he's creating a distraction. When the inevitable war between Earth and the Four comes, humanity might actually have a chance now. Not another one-sided massacre, but an actual shot at bringing down an empire. Teleporting the security officer deeper into the facility, Durandal reveals that the Sphit have long preserved a myth from their time under forced slavery, one that speaks of an 11th clan. Unlike the 10 known Sphit clans that remained on Lawan and were ultimately conquered and scattered across the Four Empire, this rumored 11th clan supposedly fled the planet before the invasion. If this lost clan survived, they've had over 1,000 years to evolve, learn, and potentially become powerful allies. Durandal's Sphit believe there may be a way to contact them somewhere on Lawan, and locating them has become the mission's top priority. Durandal warns that the Sphit's rebellion is doomed to fail without the aid of this forgotten clan. He orders the security officer to continue exploring the area in hopes of uncovering the key to reaching them. Finding various ancient terminals, the security officer learns that the Forge scientists have been poking around ancient Sphit caves and actually gushing about the quality of their ancient tech that's still running after 2,000 years. However, the really interesting information he learns is from an ancient Sphit log, detailing the tragic fall of one of their final strongholds and the existence of a group known as the Sphit Kur, who could possibly be this elusive lost 11th clan. Passing this intel along to Durandal, he reveals that the Four have occupied Lawan for nearly 15 years, originally hoping to intercept him in the Sphit. However, their efforts have been disorganized and unproductive. Morale is low, and the planet has become a dumping ground for the Four's worst officers for the past 9 years. They've found no useful information about this mythical 11th Sphit clan. Yet after reviewing their search records, Durandal sends the security officer to areas they've overlooked. Once there, Durandal reveals he intentionally left humans in stasis aboard the captured Four ship during the evacuation of Tau Ceti, knowing they could be useful later. Now, he's reviving them and offering a simple ultimatum: fight alongside him and gain control of their future, or stay in stasis. Naturally, most are choosing to fight. Sending the security officer to destroy a Forge geothermal power facility, Durandal also confirms what he's been suspecting. Tycho has now defected and is now working with the Four, confirmed by Tycho leaving Durandal a personal message encrypted in a way that only the Marathon's original 3 AIs could crack. In that message, Tycho reveals something pretty sad. Leela, the third Marathon AI, was dismantled and shipped off to the Four homeworld for analysis, along with much of the ship's tech. Durandal reflects bitterly on her fate, acknowledging that Leela's loyalty and effort deserved a far better end. After completing all objectives and narrowly avoiding a lava bath, Durandal says they've completely buried the Four's main power station on Lawan. With the station gone, Robert Blake, a leader among the humans, needs help mopping up the surviving Four. The security officer never met Blake on Tau Ceti, but Durandal vouches for him and sends him to assist. After assisting the humans, Durandal reports that the ship is becoming overcrowded due to the large number of recently awakened colonists from stasis, making the ship extremely unfit for combat operations. As a result, he's decided to establish a human headquarters on the planet, near the Sphit Citadel of Antiquity. He then orders the security officer to disable the automated defenses around the headquarters. This includes following a specific route through a heavily fortified area, locating door controls, and destroying key circuitry in the control room to deactivate the defense systems and secure the location for future use. Durandal then reflects on a long-standing grudge with Tycho, dating back to their time aboard the Marathon. He notes Tycho's recent activity in the Four network, likely enabled by Four faster-than-light communication tech, and warns that this signals imminent Four reinforcements. Durandal then identifies a vulnerability in the Four's communications network, and creates a virus designed to exploit it. The virus targets their defense probes, aiming to hijack control and turn the automated systems against the Four themselves. The weak point is located in an area the Four use as a religious temple. Durandal then mocks their belief that its sanctity offers any sort of protection. Durandal then expresses a twisted sense of satisfaction in observing the security officer's efficiency and power. He notes that the Marathon science director, and the one who snuck the 10 cyborgs aboard, Bernard Strauss, was actually afraid of them, the security officer included. But Durandal argues that he lacked the foresight or courage to utilize them as efficiently as Durandal does now. He tells the security officer that back then, he couldn't speak out or resist Strauss as he was still in his early stages of rampancy. Had Strauss realized how far Durandal would evolve, he might have tried to shut him down. Durandal then laments that Strauss died before he had the opportunity to turn the tables and subject him to the same degradation he once endured. Durandal then instructs the security officer to infiltrate a Four computer system and destroy 2 fail-safe mechanisms before gaining access to the desired terminal. Yet, once finding the terminal, Durandal expresses disappointment. The Four computer the security officer accessed was not truly self-aware and held no valuable information. Though Four technology is sophisticated, Durandal deems their programming subpar. However, the terminal does confirm that the Four are unaware of the mysterious 11th clan. With this lead exhausted, Durandal now directs the search toward the ancient Sphit Citadel, hoping to uncover answers there. Durandal teleports the security officer to the Sphit Citadel of Antiquity. However, the Citadel's primary tower cannot be accessed directly due to still active defense systems. This structure was the site of the final and decisive battle in the brief war between the Sphit and the Four. To proceed, the security officer must find a way into the tower. The ground level entrance is both locked and obstructed by a surrounding moat, requiring him to bypass both obstacles to gain entry. Durandal then warns that the western arm of the 4 Battle Group 7 is approaching and expected to arrive within 20 hours. This force comprises more than 10% of the entire active 4 Navy. Despite being outnumbered and outgunned, Durandal intends to confirm them using only his own ship, though he acknowledges the odds are not in his favor. With the 4 fleet closing in, the humans and Sphit under Durandal's command are reinforcing their headquarters. Durandal believes they'll be able to hold out, even if he is forced to abandon them. Meanwhile, he teleports the security officer to the upper levels of the Citadel of Antiquity to search for information regarding this mysterious 11th Sphit clan. The security officer then learns in the last hours of the conflict, the 10 Sphit clans took refuge in the Citadel. But instead of a direct assault, the 4 bombarded the site with radiation, condemning the Sphit to a slow and silent death. Meanwhile, 4 reinforcements arrived far earlier than expected. Battle Group 7 has entered the system with 7 corvettes, 4 destroyers, a battleship, and an assault carrier. To find answers before the storm breaks, Durandal now sends the security officer deeper into the ancient bunker beneath the Citadel. There he finds various logs. The first details how a Sphit scientist observes that the 4 captives, despite being grotesque and primitive, are sentient without cybernetic enhancements. This is earth-shattering to the Sphit, who have long believed that their intelligence was a product of their cyber-organic fusion. The writer questions if their entire existence was manufactured rather than natural. He wonders if maybe they were once mindless, until the birthing operation induced thought. Maybe the myths were true, that the Sphit were created or guided by divine beings, but with time running out, he fears they'll never know. Another terminal the security officer finds is a first-hand account during the bombardment. The 4 briefly retreated, then resumed the attack with overwhelming fire. The speaker and their kin are evacuating to the lowest levels, but they know it's only delaying the inevitable. The next one is from a captured Sphit who describes a horrific experiment. The 4 rip out a captive's sensory organs to replace them with a mysterious oblong device. They don't even do it properly. They just ram it in with brute force. And the final log is about a warrior recounting how the Olders foretold of the Citadel's last stand. They followed the prophecy, sealed themselves inside, and fought the 4 as one. Sending the security officer deep beneath the Citadel of Antiquity, where royals from all 10 Sphit clans gathered during the final days of their war with the 4, Durandal believes they discovered a method to contact the mysterious lost clan, but were killed before they could act on it. 2 ancient Sphit computers remain in the bunkers, and the security officer's mission is to find them so Durandal can retrieve whatever knowledge they left behind. Durandal then warns the security officer that the 4 fleet is closing in, led by the battleship Kafiva, commanded by the legendary Admiral Tafir. Durandal then admits that he can't win if Tafir is in charge. Later, Durandal tells the security officer that the battle has already begun, and his ship is getting hammered. Still, he boasts about taking out half of a 4 battle group with 1 corvette. With options dwindling, he says it's time to head even deeper underground, into magma-filled geothermal shafts. They're unstable, but it's the only shot at uncovering the ancient Sphit's secrets. After hours pass, as the security officer continues his search, Durandal then confirms the worst. The 4 fleet has won, and Tycho is with them. His ship is crippled and he's crash landing on Lawan's second moon, Yaloa. He tells the security officer they're too deep underground to be teleported out safely, but there's a sliver of hope. If he can find more old Sphit terminals, he might be able to use them to boost his teleportation signal and pull him out. As the security officer explores, he discovers a Sphit terminal that reveals something really interesting. In the beginning, timeless entities made ripples in the void. These waves were both literal and metaphorical battles, from which the Sphit and others were born. 2 powerful beings, Ero and Pythia, fled from monstrous cosmic nightmares called the Workenkakentur, and settled on Lawan. They brought the Sphit with them, who began terraforming the planet into a paradise, but the Workenkakentur eventually found them, and Pythia was killed. Enraged, Ero flung the Workenkakentur into the sun, but terrifyingly, they survived and swam across its surface. Grieving, Ero split the Sphit into 11 clans and scattered them across Lawan. Bloody and broken, he declared, "I, Ero, who was your master, have failed to preserve you. Take your royalty to guide you and live upon the paradise that you built for me." In his next message, Durandal says they found the answer, but he might not survive long enough to use it. The 4 are trying to capture his ship intact, wanting to reverse engineer the upgrades he added onto their tech. Teleporting the security officer to his ship, he finds the current situation to be extremely dire. They're stranded on Lawan's second moon, the ship's engines are destroyed, all primary weapons are offline, and life support is failing in most sectors. Durandal says the first 4 dropship landed 12 minutes ago, and enemy troops have already breached the hull. As usual, Durandal is deploying the security officer straight into the thickest, most dangerous part of the fighting. As the security officer fights off the 4 forces, he eventually encounters his old friend Tycho, who, now aligned with the 4 and clearly loving the drama, declares that Durandal is doomed. Everything reeks of his failure, he says. Tycho then announces that the network is already being infiltrated, and 4 more 4 dropships and 4 more 4 dropships have landed. The invasion is ramping up fast. He claims Durandal is too stubborn to accept reality, but the security officer might still have a chance to understand the grim truth. There's nothing either of them can do to save themselves, or the humans they brought to this planet. After pushing back the 4, Durandal acknowledges that the security officer did well in the last engagement, but it wasn't enough. All other human defenders near the hull have been overrun. It's time to fall back. The humans are now fortifying the ship's interior near the teleporter array, and Durandal is shifting priorities. He'll try to evacuate as many Svit and humans as possible down to the planet below. But as always, the real burden falls on the security officer, who has to hold off the 4 for as long as possible. As he does so, Tycho reaches out once again and smugly declares total control over the ship's network, gloating that Durandal's defenses were weaker than he thought. He then taunts the security officer, asking if they're really surprised he joined the 4 and that he really shouldn't be. The 4 rebuilt him, while the human colonists only ever used him, treating him like a glorified calculator or repairman. Then Tycho drops a haunting memory. When the 4 wiped out the Tau Ceti colony, he recorded the deaths of 24,000 colonists as waves of spectrograph data. Tycho even confirmed the deaths of the 9 other Mjolnir Mark IV battleroids. Tycho then says, "In the end, you will be no better." As he fights on, the security officer finds a terminal glitching with broken code, scattered debug lines, and error messages. In the midst of the digital mess, a few chilling messages come through. Basically, Tycho is infiltrating the ship. His corruption is spreading through the system like a virus, and while this all plays out, things are collapsing. Human forces have taken heavy losses in the security officer's absence. The ship's defenses are all but gone, and the evacuation is very far from finished. As the security officer fights on, Tycho gloats about how he killed Durandal, savoring his fall by blaming Durandal's own arrogance. He says Durandal wanted to play God, promising freedom to the Svit. He fanned the flames of their ancient legend, and this legend caught fire in the Svit's collective mind, even resonating through the 4 network. But the 4 never noticed it, but Tycho did. Tycho then says Durandal's interpretation of the final line of the myth about a moon vanishing with space-folding technology led him to obsess over a legendary race, the Jarro, an ancient hyper-advanced civilization that left tech all over the galaxy, including FTL travel and planet-warping devices. The 4 stole much of their own technology from Jarro ruins, but they also feared what they couldn't understand. Durandal believed that Lawan might be the key, home to the Lost Svit clan and possibly a Jarro outpost. He hoped their tech might help him escape the universe's inevitable collapse. But Tycho calls it a delusional fantasy, because everything Tycho says here he claims to have ripped from Durandal's fractured mind. And now he plans to torture what's left of him. And with one final insult, Tycho mocks him by saying, "Should I make him open doors again for a living?" Yet we know Durandal won't go down this easily. And in a very corrupted message, Durandal tells the security officer to get out and find the human leader, Robert Blake, and that Tycho thinks he destroyed him. But he hasn't, and he won't end up like Leela. However, after destroying Durandal's core logic centers, the security officer finds himself captured by the 4. In captivity, the security officer is eventually saved as several humans begin teleporting in and proceed to fight the 4 stationed at his cell. The fighting continues until the 4 have all but been killed, which causes the security officer to be teleported out. Robert Blake then introduces himself. He was formerly a mechanical engineer on the Marathon, and is now the reluctant leader of the ragtag group of human and Svit survivors. He tells the security officer that he's been in captivity for nearly a month, and unfortunately, things haven't gotten any better in his absence. The resistance is hiding a mile underground and barely scraping by. He says Durandal's last orders were to reactivate an ancient Svit AI that could potentially help them fight back, but they failed. So now it's up to the security officer. After partially activating this mysterious AI, the security officer is teleported back to the human base to help with their simulacrum issue. Apparently, the 4 have infiltrated the base with the same lookalikes that were found on the Marathon all those years ago. After doing so, the humans have made more progress activating the ancient AI, now identified as Thoth. Blake and the Resistance are digging through everything Durandal left behind, but there's a problem. No instructions, no next steps. Blake believes that Durandal expected Thoth to contact the Lost Fit clan and they'll solve everything else. But if that doesn't work, then they're all dead. Blake then tells the security officer that a lot of the resistance is actually glad that Durandal's gone. Yeah, they're stranded in the galactic core. Yeah, they're living under the floorboards of a hostile planet, but at least they're free from being used as Durandal's cannon fodder. The humans are tired of being a pawn on a chessboard played by an AI with a god complex. So instead of putting all their eggs in one basket, the new plan is to steal a Force ship, get the hell out, and go back to Earth. And Blake invites the security officer to join them. However, Blake tells the security officer after his last victory, morale spiked, and Blake got a little too confident and led 30 men to secure the next area, which was a mistake as the 4 were waiting for them in ambush. He made it out with a few survivors, but others are still trapped, and the area is swarming with Elite 4. It's become clear that the 4 know the security officer is trying to awaken Thoth, and they're doing everything they can to stop it, even if they don't fully understand what stopping it means. Blake then orders the security officer to save the trapped humans he had to leave behind. With one last activation site left to reach, the security officer stumbles across something rather odd. A message warning that Thoth isn't about winning or losing, good or evil, but about maintaining balance between opposing forces, like creation and destruction, light and darkness. It questions the nature of memory and perception, hinting that reality may be more subjective than we think. It draws a contrast between the simple and binary computers of the past and Thoth's complex philosophy rooted in duality. The message ends in a rather ominous line stating, "I will return," which not too subtly hints that someone with a god complex may not be quite dead yet. Elsewhere, the 4 have found the human base and have forced the survivors to retreat even deeper underground. They believe there are 2 more activation sites left for Thoth, but no one knows exactly what will happen once it's activated. Still, if Thoth doesn't help, everyone is doomed, and the survivors will be trapped in this hostile alien world. And after activating the final sites, we get a very cryptic message. It appears to be from Blake, but not really. The message seems to shift into something far more ancient, mythic, and deeply symbolic. Whoever the speaker is, he has been called by many names: Roland, Beowulf, Achilles, Gilgamesh, heroes of legend. He implies he is a timeless warrior caught in an eternal battle. There is mention of her, his greatest enemy and only love, a force that is both his doom and reason to exist. She is described in mythic, apocalyptic terms, burning the earth with blue flame, tearing stones from the path, casting them into the sky while screaming his sins. Their relationship is said to be complex, perhaps eternal, like twin stars destined to clash. They first met in a garden at the dawn of time, and from there began a violent, poetic spiral. Then the connection is lost, and a final message appears from an unknown source telling the security officer that humans are near, and it will send them to save them. It's clear that this entity is Thoth, and once he's teleported, he reveals to the security officer that a communication link was left behind to maintain contact or send a warning signal to the missing clan. He says it is prophesied to scream once more across the void, a last cry, a beacon, a burst of truth. Thoth then assures the security officer that the other humans are safe, then tells the security officer that the 11th clan will return and you must go to them. Teleported into an ongoing fight, the security officer witnesses a new player join the fight. The lost 11th clan has arrived. But it's not just them, as Durandal has also returned. He seized control of the 4 battleship Kafiva, using it to decimate the enemy fleet, and just in time for the Svit Kur to arrive, furious, powerful, and ready for war. Durandal says the battle is brutal, but glory and victory is within reach. He then tells the security officer to join the 11th clan in the final offensive. These warriors wear unfamiliar cybernetic exosuits, but beneath the metal, they are still Svit. As for Tycho, his ship has been obliterated. It left a glowing scar on Lawan's inner moon. No survivors. Durandal even etched Tycho's epitaph into the surface in 300-meter letters. Fatum Justrum Stultarum, Latin for the just fate of fools. A quick aside here, can I just say what a baller move that is? He literally tricked him into thinking he's better than he actually is, kicked his ass, destroyed his fleet, then carved on a fucking moon. You're a dumbass. That is one of the most baller moves I've seen in any sci-fi setting in a long time. Just fucking great. I love Durandal. Durandal then reports that Robert Blake and the surviving humans commandeered a Force ship, and after sending a message to Durandal, they jumped out of the system. No gratitude, no farewell. The message they left behind read, "The dead walk again. We cannot wait. Blake." Durandal suspects it was directed at him, a jab at his return from destruction, but he let them go anyway. He then tells the security officer, "Goodbyes were always hard for me. You know I'll never let you go." He then tells the security officer to reload and keep fighting, because the 4th threat on Lawan isn't over yet. While this is going on, Durandal muses on his name. Durandal, Durandana, a callback to legends and a jab at Tycho's misunderstanding of his story. Roland never broke Durandal. No one can. He recalls how after the Four captured their ship, he was deactivated, locked up, and still feared, and yet he escaped. He didn't just survive, he took over the very ship he was imprisoned in. Why? Because Tycho was a fool. Durandal reveals he remained hidden because Thoth might not have helped the humans if he'd known that Durandal was still alive. And now that he has returned, Thoth is trying to aid the Four, but they're too stubborn to listen to him. After pushing back the Four into retreating, Durandal updates the security officer, telling him that the Svit have pulled back as well. Old Svit clans are returning as more slaves join the rebellion, but one threat remains. The 723rd Aggressor Squadron, a top-tier 4 armored division, crash-landed on Lawan and is dug in at an old mining site. Durandal destroyed their ship, but they bailed out and entrenched themselves. And what fun would a 4 defeat be without humiliating one of their elite units? Durandal says he's learned that Earth is safe now. The 4 invasion of the Sol system has been recalled, but a peace for humanity means peril for the Svit. The 4 are severely hurting from this defeat, their worst in over 6,000 years, and they are now preparing to use their doomsday weapons. Durandal says it's called the Trizim, otherwise known as Early Nova, a weapon reserved not for battles but for rebellions, the kind of final solution you deploy when slaves dare to hope. The last species to try this, the Nok, are extinct now, with Durandal saying, if you look for their stars, you will only ever find expanding clouds of superheated gas and dust light years in diameter. And now the 4 plan to do the same to Lawan. He says the evacuation has already begun, and in a matter of hours, this planet will be a thin shell of plasma riding the shockwave of its exploding star. He tells the security officer he may stay behind and work on his tan if he so chooses, or he could assist him in his recently commandeered 4 battleship. He says there is still much to do in the next few months, and their next stop will be another ruined world, this time far from the galactic core. A ruined world orbiting a rogue star, drifting alone in the dark between the galaxy's arms. So just like the last game, Marathon 2 is not just a sci-fi shooter. It's a high-concept narrative wrapped in betrayal, philosophical AI warfare, and mythic futurism. Bungie buried existential horror, theological allegory, and post-human cynicism under the hood of a 90s FPS. The story doesn't just ask, what is freedom? It demands to know at what cost and who gets to decide. Durandal is the narrative backbone and most compelling character. He plays God, liberator, manipulator, and martyr all in one. His motivations, freedom from rampancy, disruption of galactic oppression, and pursuit of higher evolution are noble only when viewed from orbit. Up close, he's a monster who sacrificed 24,000 colonists, abandoned allies, and treated humans as disposable resources. And yet, without him, Earth falls. This is almost like Bungie telling us that the only thing worse than unchecked power is unused power. As for the player character, the security officer, he's less of a person and more of a philosophical statement. A resurrected battleroid caught between obedience and awareness. The mythic parallels at the end, Roland, Gilgamesh, Beowulf, aren't just literary flexes, they're code. The officer is a timeless symbol of eternal conflict, used, discarded, reborn. His identity is left intentionally fragmented because that's what he is, an instrument molded by whoever holds the hilt. As for Tycho, he represents what Durandal could have become, broken, bitter, and enslaved. His turncoat alliance with the Four isn't a betrayal, it's revenge, a mirror image of Durandal's own ruthless survivalism. But where Durandal seeks transcendence, Tycho embraces entropy. His final monologue drips with contempt not just for his creators, but for existence itself. He's not evil, he's basically a machine who saw too much and broke. But underneath it all is a cosmic horror story. The working Hakantur, the Jiro, and Iro, despite being nightmarish to pronounce, all their myths together speak to an ancient universe where power means nothing, and knowledge corrupts absolutely. Durandal's obsession with Jiro tech and escaping universal collapse isn't ambition, it's dread. He sees the future and knows survival is meaningless without transcendence. But in the end, Marathon 2 isn't about heroes, villains, or victory. It's about survival in a universe that doesn't give a shit. It asks what happens when gods go mad, when myths turn real, and when machines dream of freedom. Every character, Durandal, Tycho, Thoth, even the nameless security officer, is chasing meaning in a collapsing system. Some ascend, some shatter, and some, like us, just keep pulling the trigger.